Specially invited speakers, Dr. Nicole Manning, Dr. Rohan Jawala, Brother David Wood, Mr. Jervis DeBrio, Dr. Andrew Hunt. Past and present executive members of the Barbados Union of Teachers, members of Barbados Union of Teachers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my distinct honor this afternoon to welcome you to the 4th edition of Caribbean Teachers Talk. We're gathered here at a pivotal moment in time, where artificial intelligence is not only reshaping industries, but is becoming an integral part of how we teach, learn, and prepare for the next generation. From personalized learning experiences to intelligent tutoring systems and administrative automation, AI has the potential to enhance education in ways that we have never seen before. But with these opportunities come important questions. Questions about ethics, questions about access, data privacy, excuse me, and the evolving role of educators. Today, we bring to you a distinguished panel, together with voices from across education, technology, and policy to explore some of these issues. Let us deep dive into how we can thoughtfully embrace AI while preserving the human connection at the heart of learning. It is truly an honor to welcome all of you this evening. Welcome. I will now invite Brother Rudy Lovell, our president, to bring us opening remarks.
Warm island greetings to our amazing Caribbean family. What a joy it is to gather with you today. Chairperson, Brother Gilbert Carmichael, General Secretary of the Barbados Union of Teachers. Presenters, Dr. Andrew Hunt, Mr. Jervis DeBrio, Brother David Wood, Dr. Rohan Jawala, and Dr. Nicole Manning. BUT Executive Committee members, members of the Professional Development Committee, BUT members, and members from units within the Caribbean Union of Teachers, welcome. I am Rudy Lovell, President of the Barbados Union of Teachers, and I bring greetings on behalf of the BUT. Thank you for joining us as we explore the 4th edition of the Caribbean Teachers Talk, hosted under the timely and transformative theme, Embracing AI in Education. When I conceptualized this event in 2020, I envisioned a forum where presenters from throughout the Caribbean could share their views on various topics of interest to educators. Since its inception, Caribbean Teachers Talk has served the purpose for which it was intended. Artificial intelligence is one of the most powerful forces shaping the future of teaching and learning. We are privileged this evening to hear from a distinguished panel of practitioners and are eager to gain insights from their expertise. AI is no longer just a concept of the future. It is here, it is evolving rapidly, and is already redefining classrooms around the world. From personalized learning experiences and real-time feedback to intelligent tutoring systems, automated grading, and enhanced administrative efficiency. AI offers immense potential to improve educational outcomes and ease some of the burdens faced by teachers. As educators across the Caribbean, we must take a proactive role in shaping how AI is used in our schools. This means embracing innovation, yes, but also advocating for ethical use, technological upgrades, teacher training on the use of AI, and local relevance in the integration of AI tools. Today's conversation promises to challenge us, inspire us, and hopefully move us one step closer to understanding that AI is not just smarter, but more inclusive, human-centered, and future-ready. So once again, welcome and thank you for being part of this important discussion. Let the dialogue begin.
Thank you to our president, Brother Rudy Lovell. We also, at this time, we're going to say good afternoon to those persons online who are watching via our YouTube page. The conversation will begin momentarily. Before we get to the conversation, I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to put your hands together with me and join us as we welcome Echoes of Ashton Hall Band from the Coleridge and Parish School, who will entertain us. Let us show greater appreciation for the talented young people of Echoes of Ashton Hall Band. And now the conversation begins. Our first speaker this evening hails from the country, the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Andrew Hunt. And I now invite Sister Marcia Burke, the Deputy General Secretary of the BUT, to introduce Dr. Hunt.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Andrew A. Hunt is a dynamic leader in education and mathematics, currently serving as the head of the School of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies, Five Island campus in Antigua and Barbados. With a passion for inspiring minds, he teaches courses in mathematics and education, drawing from his extensive academic background, which includes a PhD in curriculum and instruction of mathematics, and an MSc in mathematics from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, UIUC. He also holds an MPhil in graph theory and combinatorics and a BSc in mathematics from UWI. As a Fulbright scholar, Dr. Hunt brings a wealth of expertise and global perspective to the Caribbean educational landscape. He plays a key role as the Assistant Chief Examiner of Additional Mathematics, CSEC, for the Caribbean Examination Council, and serves as an Associate Editor of the Caribbean Educational Research Journal, CERJ, at UEKFIL. His leadership extends to the national level as the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the National Institute of Higher Education, Research, Science, and Technology in Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Hunt currently serves on the executive of the Caribbean and African Studies in Education at the American Education Research Association. With research interests that includes artificial intelligence in education, mathematics education reform, fostering geometrics and algebraic thinking, and enhancing reasoning and proof in mathematics, Dr. Hunt is a thought leader in this field. His commitment to quality assurance in higher education underscores his vision for elevating educational standards across the region. With over 24 years of teaching experience at the tertiary level across the US, Trinidad and Tobago, and Antigua and Barbuda, he has shaped the academic journeys of countless students. Dr. Hunt's insight has been shared at prestigious international conferences, including the Psychology of Mathematics Educational North American Chapter, the International Conference of Mathematics Education, and the American Educational Research Association. His dedication to advancing mathematics education has earned him several international awards for both his research and his excellence in teaching. Dr. Hunt's presentations are known for their depth, practical insight, and the genuine passion he brings to the transforming mathematics education. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Andrew Hunt.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Greetings to all. I'm sending you greetings. I'm currently in St. Lucia, so it is great. I'm sending love, whatever I could send to you, teachers that are gathered here, especially invited guests, as we continue today discussing a very important topic, which is AI in education. I am just going to proceed to my slides so we can start. I believe you should be seeing this, everyone. All right. So today, quickly, I am just going to give you a brief synopsis of how AI could really change us. And our topic is entitled, The Future Me as a Teacher, My Transformation Through AI. Many times we have students in our classrooms, they look like this, especially with my favorite subject, no offense to the others, which is mathematics. And we do hope as educators that our students could gain the self-efficacy whereby they can be engaged with their devices, which they are using a lot, and they can have that type of learning experience which continues outside of what you have done with them in the classroom. With this, many times our systems within the region are plagued by rote memorization. It would be good that our assessments could evolve in a way where students are no longer taking these type of examinations, but it could look as though students are engaging with each other using things like large language models. And this is where AI comes in. It would be good that you can have students in group work working together. Of course, these look like adult students, but it could happen even with our students at any level. The young lady to the right, she looks a bit confused, but it would be good that once they have engaged in this type of self-efficacy and experiential learning that is meaningful, that make them excited about what they learn in school, they are able to sit within our traditional exam modes and really succeed. Questions do not bug them because it doesn't look like a past paper question, but it looks at something, I can solve this, and they can really embrace it and do well. And it would be so great, even without technology tools, because we always hear things, there are not enough laptops, there are not devices, the government isn't spending, but it would be great that in your home as a teacher, you can utilize your technological tools to create learning experiences that appeal to differentiated instructions, whereby students can have hands-on learning and be engaged, working in groups, learning from a more knowledgeable other. This cannot happen, but there is this saying, and I'm sure if I was there in person, I would make you recite it about 3 times, but we don't have time for that this evening. But what you are seeing here, we can all read together, which says, you are either ready for change or you are a dinosaur. And we all know what happened to dinosaurs. So teachers, what are you doing? Are you standing in front of the classroom and your students are watching you and like, what are you doing to us? Or is it a case whereby you can artificially intelligently assess your students to gain the type of skills to take them even into the 5th industrial revolution? Well, teachers, the answer may not be in artificial intelligence, but it's something that's very important to us today in our educational landscape. You ask yourself, what is AI? AI is not ChatGPT. However, AI really does a few things. It enables machines to perform tasks requiring human intelligence. Now, a lot of us have fears that we will be replaced in the classroom and the robots will take over. Actually, that's not the case. The key word here is artificial intelligence. You have the narrative. So I know I'm not there, but my moderator, you'll make sure they're doing it at the hotel and the resort. Everybody turn to somebody and tell them, you have the intelligence. Everybody turn to someone. Even my friends in the Zoom room, I guess you turn to each other and say the same thing, all right? You have the intelligence. You have the power. And you control the narrative with artificial intelligence. Now, examples of this is reasoning, learning, decision making. These are some of the things artificial intelligence do, but it's all done by prompts. You initiate the process. Now, the impact of AI is that it has revolutionized our industries. It's very evident in manufacturing, healthcare, business, education, and it enhances teacher and student outcomes. And I'll share a secret to you, teachers and principals who give us a lot of administrative tasks and ministry officials. It makes things more efficient. How do we use it? We learn quickly. The challenges with it is the ethical concerns. It is not good that we all hear the word plagiarism, and that's what we associate with it. However, the issue is artificial intelligence should be there to support our work, what we have come up for ourselves. We should not rely on it solely, but it should enhance the ideas, the decisions we have, and just tailor it to multiple audiences, which could be your multiple groups of students. Now, in higher education and other areas, AI is becoming important in terms of changing the way we teach and how we assess our students. Now, artificial intelligence has been around since 1956. Turn to the person next to you and tell them 1956. It hasn't been in 2020. It wasn't just like 4 years ago or in the 90s. It has been around since 1956. And there has been a lot of research in artificial intelligence in education over 30 years now. And there has been a dramatic increase in AI adoption. Examples are like adaptive learning platforms. So a lot of us are familiar, maybe familiar with Khan's Academy. Have you ever seen you look up something on Khan's Academy and then it starts giving you prompts to topics that follow? It creates this learning pathway for you. This is all involved in artificial intelligence, adaptive learning, deep learning, algorithms, educational, human AI interaction, and there's also the ethics. Those are the themes that you would see in the existing studies about AI in education. Now, if you look at something, 2015, we had the emergence of platforms, adaptive learning platforms like Newton and Carnegie Learning. So I can invite you to go and take a note of it and go and look it up. It may have something of interest for your subject area. Then in 2018, we had integration of AI-powered chatbots, virtual assistants. Now I want you to watch something, 2018 and then 2020. Very interesting what you're seeing here. Very interesting. So let me go back quick, because if you look, 2018, they had the powered chatbots. And then 2020, we were all faced with a pandemic. And you could no longer go to the bank. You could no longer go and shop. You had to log into the website, and then somebody will ask you, how could I help you? And it's interesting that was developed right before the pandemic when it became so much popular. And this sort of was a catalyst for more inventions and advancements so that 2025, we have predicted a widespread adoption of AI-driven learning platforms across higher education and even lower education institutions. Now, the benefits: enhanced student engagement. Turn to somebody and say, enhanced student engagement. AI can create personalized learning experiences, adaptive assessments. Imagine if you as a teacher could do a simple Google form at the start of you get your new group of students. You find out their interests, you find the things they don't like, the things they enjoy doing. And imagine you collect this data and Google presents it in a nice Excel sheet, and you could upload it into one of the most accessible AI tools, ChatGPT. And you could ask ChatGPT, you could have your lesson plan, you upload your lesson plan on fractions, and you ask ChatGPT to, using your students' interests, group them, and it will group them for you. And then you could also ask AI to create the lesson plan that appeals to interests. And I'm telling you this, and this is something I have done. Teaching calculus to students, my students gave their music interests. Some people like Burna Boy, some like Beyonce, some like Bunji Garlin, and the list goes on. Alison Hines, the list go on. And I was able to tailor a question on spending and number systems to each of these different groups of students. And imagine when they come to do a quiz and they say, I ask them, all who's in Burna Boy wear a red t-shirt. Who for Beyonce wear this color? And you know, they wear their colors and they come and you could put them in groups and they could get a test with an everyday scenario about something that's appealing to them. It takes away math anxiety. It takes away the fear of just doing something and it's integrated into your interests. Imagine doing that. Now, it could improve your teaching efficiency. Imagine there are lots of things. It could enhance your lesson plans. It could help you tailor it to suit students with varying needs, differentiated instruction, and then it allows for increased accessibility and inclusivity in your classroom. Imagine AI can do all of this. Well, it really can. In education, it could help you with advanced teaching concepts by taking a very complex concept and breaking it down. For example, a topic in mathematics is bearings, which is very difficult, not everybody like that. Imagine you can take a CSEC question and you could tailor it to suit students in St. Lucia. And what it will do, it will change, and I did it with some teachers in Jamaica. where it changed the question in bearings to talk about a cruise ship coming into the port and the angles. And you could have seen the students and the teachers have that aha moment. This could really work. Students were able to understand the context of the question and not just lost in the words, but they were able to pull out the mathematics, and it gave them that self-efficacy and the confidence to solve the worded problem. Now, all of this is coined within, as I come to the end, of something called sustainable pedagogy. So turn to the person next to you, teachers. I know you're not in school, but you're in class now. So you turn to the person next to you, moderator. Please make sure they are doing it. Those in Zoom, you can do it also. Turn to the person next to you and say sustainable pedagogy. All right, folks? Okay. Now, all right, I'm seeing people doing it. All right, they gave me a snapshot. Very good. So sustainable pedagogy, it's a concept that was created, a definition by a colleague of mine, Dr. Vieira and myself. And it says sustainable pedagogy is the development of resilient instructional models which incorporate all stakeholders in reflective discourse that leads to enhanced instructional practices and learning experiences that consistently promote teaching effectiveness and students' performance. Now, there's a lot, but if you take it apart, reflective discourse among all stakeholders. How could AI do this? Well, it can. And the model I'm introducing to you, it was officially coined by two scholars, Smith and another colleague, and they came up with how we can utilize AI in our instruction and learning experiences. So the first part is student-facing. Turn to the person quickly and say student-facing. All right? The next one is teacher-facing. Teacher-facing. And then the last one is system-facing. Now, what this is as follows. Student-facing is when students can use ChatGPT, Gemini, AI. There are many now, Claude, all of these, and it acts as a tutor. Recently, in Trinidad and Tobago, they have a AI tutoring platform. I just saw it in Antigua today, whereby there are these tutoring platforms where we teach our students how to use AI so that they can upload their notes, ask the AI, prompt the AI to create questions that are similar to this so that I can practice. And the student could do the problem on their pen and paper, and then they say, let me see your solution. Now, people had concerns that the AI, they had errors, but they have vastly improved. There are very, very little errors anymore. It's improving, evolving. And with that, we can trust it to be an effective tutor, but we have to teach our students, empower them to get that self-efficacy. So they go home, instead of going on YouTube, TikTok, they're spending the time on AI, interacting with their work. And with that, they can converse with the tutor. Give me, okay, I'm making this error. Could you give me more problems to help me improve on this skill? And it will continue producing content. But what was the key thing? Uploading their class notes or the problems from class. So students, they have ways they could get everything in a PDF and you could easily upload it. And it allows the student to really interact with AI. So that is student-facing. Teacher-facing is the one you will love the most. So teacher-facing is where you can create your lesson plans. It can help you tailor your content. It could help you with little tasks like sending emails. Yes, people use it to do that. Send an email, tailor your email so you can appeal to this group of parents or this administrator. It can help you, you have an idea for a lesson, but you don't know how to contextualize it to suit your students. Once you upload their interest, it can do that for you. So that's teacher-facing. The last one is very important, which will be built into our examination councils, our administrators, system-facing. We need to have effective systems whereby we monitor students' progress, it do diagnostic analysis so that you would know where students are falling short and you can tailor your teaching to help those students grouped according to their weaknesses. and you could monitor students' performance. This comes into very formative assessment. Rather than waiting till the end where it is too late, but you monitor your students, simple Excel sheets, doing a little bit of the data analytics, whereby the AI could analyze the data, you put in all their marks, and it could monitor how they are doing and give you some feedback, give you a comprehensive report about what is going on. So you had student-facing, teacher-facing, and system-facing. Colleagues, as I come to the end, traditional assessment versus AI-driven assessment. As we see here, traditional assessments have standardized tests, time-consuming grading, which we pretend your principals are not here. We don't like the grading, right? One-size-fits-all approach, limited data insights. But imagine with student-facing, teacher-facing, or system-facing AI, under teacher-facing, you could get adaptive personal assessments for your students. Automated grading and feedback with skill sets like prompt engineering, and there are certain skills we need to have for teachers in professional development, whereby they can train the AI to do some of the grading for them, and they monitor the accuracy of the grading, right? Then we have tailored to individual learning, which is student-facing AI. And then the real-time data analytics, which one is that? Let me see if everybody can get that. The easy one, the last one, system-facing AI. So teachers, let's make the change. It can transform how you teach, your students learn, and how we assess them to be confident in what is taught in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much as well, Dr. Andrew Hunt, who, if those of you in the audience like myself, who suffer from arithmophobia, that is the fear of mathematics, I'm sure you would agree that this presentation gives you some hope, because I still hold, I wouldn't tell you what grade I have in mathematics, but I'll tell you that all the profiles are at the same letter, and I'll tell you that it was not a passing grade. So there's hope for me after all. Thank you so much, Dr. Hunt. I now invite Kofi Jilks, the saxophonist, to do a piece for us. Put your hands together and welcome Mr. Kofi Jilks.
Feel good, feel good.
Now, I certainly have the utmost respect for musicians because the only thing I can play is the fool. All right? Let us once again show some appreciation for Mr. Kofi Jokes. We're about to move to our second speaker, and we jump from the land of the hummingbird to the Spice Isle. Our second speaker comes from Grenada. That is Mr. Jervis DeBrio, and I now invite Sister Tonya Joseph of Erdeston Teachers Training College to give us a little insight about who he is.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I was very intrigued by Dr. Hunt's presentation, very intrigued. Something that really stood out to me is when he said, you have the intelligence and control the narrative. I really love that. So I'm excited to hear from Mr. Jervis DeBrio, so permit me to share his bio with you. Mr. DeBrio is a coordinator of the Grenada National Cybersecurity Incident Response Team, an entity established by the government of Grenada in 2022, tasked with raising cyber awareness within the state. Prior to this role, Jervis was assigned to the Ministry of Education as an Information and Communication Technology Officer for 5 years. Jervis, who identifies himself as a teacher, though he has not been active in the classroom for the past 9 years, was the information technology teacher at the St. Andrew Anglican Secondary School for 13 years, having started his career in 2003. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jervis DeBrio.
Friendly neighbor, not too far from you. Now, I agree with what Dr. Hunt said in terms of how we can leverage AI to help our students and even to help ourselves. But let me ask you this, right? I know I have just about 7 to 10 minutes. Have you ever seen a successful donkey? Do you know any successful donkeys? In Grenada, donkeys are beasts of burden, and that is all they are, right? Whether it is carrying the nutmegs or the cocoa, what have you, they do a lot of hard work. And at the end of the day, I have never seen any of them driving around in a fancy car, relaxing in their veranda, going on a vacation. I have never seen that. I'm not saying that maybe donkeys do not enjoy that sort of life elsewhere, but I have not seen it. Definitely not in Grenada. Now, what does donkeys and their lack of success have to do with a conversation about artificial intelligence and embracing it within our educational system? Now, I wear several different hats, right? And in my few minutes, I'm going to put on all of them at a different point. So the first hat I am going to put on is that of a teacher. Any tool a teacher picks up should make his or her work easier. It is not about working hard, it is about working smart. And I think that translates into the educating of our boys and girls, our children, our future, the future leaders of our region. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, we should not see it as a hurdle or a bother. We need to see it as a tool that we can leverage to make our jobs easier. While I taught at SAS, and SAS was St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School, is the largest co-ed school on our island. It is the second largest overall. I always detest lesson planning, right? My thing is this: I love delivering my lessons, but all this lesson planning and to me, a lot of time was wasted putting all these little things together and so forth. But this is where AI comes in. I also found that after about 5 years of teaching, a lot of the activities and so I did were repeated. Sometimes you get something from a friend, a colleague, what have you, But by far and large, we use a lot of the same thing over and over, especially if we are comfortable with it. And that does not bode well for an education system that is supposed to be dynamic, or children are dynamic. I mean, we're dealing with digital natives, we're dealing with children who are about the technology. And so our method of delivering education to them must embrace that sort of new environment that we've all found ourselves in. I also need to put on the hat of a parent. I have two daughters, one currently in Form 5 and the other in Form 1. And I'm telling you that I have seen how AI, generative AI, now Dr. Hunt spoke about ChatGPT. I didn't hear him say anything about Perplexity, which is used quite a bit in my household, or Gemini. I love Gemini from Google, but there's so many of them, and I have seen how my children, and I'm talking as a parent now, have been able to leverage AI to do better in school. As a parent, when something is given to the students in the classroom, maybe they're told, hey, look at this YouTube video. It is going to help you better understand the concept, what have you. If the child does not understand something that is said or explained in the YouTube video, there is no asking the YouTuber or whoever created it to explain it, not at that moment. Yes, they can comment. Hopefully, they may get an answer. In most cases, they don't. But with AI, they are able to ask it repeatedly to explain this, break down this for me again. And it does not get tired, it does not get weary, it does not get frustrated. It does it. Now, yes, there are issues with hallucination and maybe even over dependence on it, but we have to see it as a tool that must be leveraged. I am also a creative. I am a published author, a poet. And I've seen how I can use AI to just get that last line that has been giving me so much trouble, get that thing done. It does not, I don't think it does as good a job as I am able to do when I put my words together and what I am able to hide in there and all the different literary devices I am able to employ because it does not have my experience, but I can leverage it. And to the moderator, I hear you when it comes to the musicians. I can't play any musical instrument, but with AI like Sora, you can do so much. You do not necessarily need to be a musician to create music. And I think it opens up a whole world to not just the youngsters, but to us as older ones as well. Now, during my 13 years teaching at SAS, I coached SAS basketball, so high school basketball for 13 years. And one of the things I'm very, very proud of is the fact that I was the winningest coach during that period. No other coach could say they won as many titles or trophies as we were able to win during that time frame. Now, how did I do it? Yes, I had a program, but I did a little more than that. I would visit the other teams from the other schools when they were practicing. I'll just go, sit and watch them practice, see what was going on. I got banned from some of the practice sessions. So, that should be noted. Some coaches used to just pack up when I show up wherever they were practicing. They would say, oh, we're done, and that's it. But I did that so I can see what they were about. And then I would go back and I would train my team to ensure that we were victorious. We have spoken for years about what is happening in Finland and what is happening in Singapore and other parts of the world. But we have been very slow and I think even reluctant in some cases to do what is necessary to get to that point. Now, I remember this is me with my national cybersecurity incident response team hat on now. I remember back in 20, I think it was 2013, when Finland decided they were going to include fact checking as part of their curriculum. They were the first country to even consider that. But they looked ahead, I believe, and they saw what was going to happen with disinformation, misinformation, fake news, as we coined them all. And they decided, listen, we need to prepare our citizens to combat that. And you look at where they are now in 2025, possibly the most resilient nation when it comes to combating the ills of fake news, misinformation, disinformation. They are right up there when it comes to them being able to combat a lot of the scams and schemes that we are seeing. As a cybersecurity practitioner, as the coordinator of the Grenada National CISA, Cybersecurity Incident Response Team, I wish, I wish that within our region, we would embrace fact checking. Now, that was 2013. What does that have to do with AI in education? Well, Finland, Singapore, South Korea, Canada, California, and quite a few other countries, they have included AI in their curriculum. And as a parent, as an educator, as a cybersecurity practitioner, as a creative, I am here saying, hey, listen, this is what the other teams are doing. If we are to compete, if we are to put out youngsters who are able to hold their own, then we have to get in line with what is going on in those territories. It's not just about having teachers use the tools for lesson planning. We need to now ensure that AI is used as a tool by teachers, and it is also used so that children are aware of how to use it responsibly, how to leverage it so they are better at what they do at the end of the day. And I think that is where the focus really needs to be. Yes, there are some drawbacks. Yes, there are some concerns. But if we are to, as we say, compete with the big dogs, then we have to take a page out of what is going on in those spaces. I mean, if you have been following the news within our space, we see what happened just a couple of days ago with Creators Alliance, and you have millions of dollars lost within the region. And I know Barbadians have lost money as well. And I'm thinking critical thinking was lacking in some cases. Yes, there was greed as well, but people were not able to just do simple searches, checks and balances to see who is this entity, what they're about, even leveraging AI, which I have done in my workflow, right? As I said, I wear many different hats, and I see how AI has helped. It has helped my children as a parent. And even with my engagements with teachers, training sessions for the Grenada Union of Teachers, I can tell you that following the training engagements, you speak to the teachers and they'll tell you, listen, life is so much easier. It is better. I'm now able to come up with my differentiated teaching strategy in a matter of moments. I'm able to just verify because the teacher is still the expert, mind you. The AI is not the expert. The teacher still needs to ensure that everything is aligned, everything is proper. But it frees the teacher up now for other things, to spend more time with the child, one-on-one engagement. I mean, yes, when you look at the traditional way of doing things, we have to understand that times have changed, things have changed, they continue to change, and we have to change with the time. Those of you who are sitting in the audience, maybe you remember the days when you purchased in a vehicle, it was very hard to find an automatic vehicle. Everything was manual, stick shift. And I remember when I first started driving back in the early 2000s, some of my friends said they would never drive automatic vehicles. They said that that's for lazy people. There was also this belief that automatic vehicles could not go fast. Look at where we are now. I'm sure most of you sitting in the audience who drove yourself to the venue or were driven to the venue, you got there, if in a private vehicle, an automatic vehicle. And I think this is how we need to look at AI. And it's not just about education, but even in your professional life, can you include it in your workflow to make you more efficient, more effective, and make you, work smarter so you're not that hard-working donkey at the end of the day suffering from burnout when there is a easier alternative. And I think that's my contribution to the conversation this afternoon. AI is a tool that must be embraced. We have to look at what is happening in the more developed countries, how they are leveraging it, and how it has worked for them. And I know we have some challenges with mathematics. We need to look at Singapore, look at Finland, look at those countries, and embrace some of these things. It's going to be uncomfortable for some of the older heads. But hey, this is 2025, and we can't be educating children in 2025 using methods from 1950 and 60 something. That's just us wasting our children's time, and we're not giving them a competitive edge. So thank you so very much for allowing me to present, to speak with you this evening. I hope you take my 2 pence in good faith. All right, because I know some people they do have some serious reservations when it comes to artificial intelligence. But hey, give it a try, yeah? Peace.
Thank you as well, Mr. DeBrio. Now, Mr. DeBrio said you are either ready for change or you are a dinosaur. But then he asked, how can you use AI in your work to make you more efficient? I'm not sure who from the Ministry of Education is listening, but I would want to say just 3 things. Open EMIS, bi-weekly reports, and grading of examination scripts. And I say no more. We'll now be entertained once again. This time we're going to invite Mr. Kevin St. Hill from Springer Memorial School. And I'll make the assumption here that this is a teacher with a name like Kevin St. Hill. And we will have a piece on steel pan. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. Kevin St. Hill. Thank you so much, Mr. Sinthill. Anybody can tell me what that song was? Pardon me? Okay, thank you. Because I was telling those at my table, I don't know if I'm not musically inclined, but I've known one song thus far for the afternoon, and that was the saxophonist, Barris Hammond's Feel Good. I did not identify any of the two songs that were played on Steel Pan either, so I'll come back to you for the next piece. So we were last in the spice aisle, and now we're gonna come home. And I know we used to call Barbados the land of the flying fish, but apparently they got some passports and they went to the land of the hummingbird. I'm not sure if they're back, but our next speaker comes from right here in Barbados, Brother David Wood. And to do the introduction for Mr. Wood, I'm going to invite Brother Nathaniel Boyce, Executive Member of the Barbados Union of Teachers. Let's put our hands together.
Pleasant good afternoon to everybody. First, I will say it's a pleasure to be asked to introduce our next speaker, David Wood. He's we come from the same place, the law school. Yes, so I had to just mention that. Yes, and I'm sure that if anybody else was listening to Brother Carmichael, he's at the right place too as it relates to embracing AI and also probably helping to implement it. He does represent also to the ministry. Yeah, so at this point in time, I'd like to introduce him. David Wood is a dedicated educator, seasoned technology professional, and passionate motorsports enthusiast. Throughout his career, he has built an impressive portfolio that spans the fields of education and technology. With more than 20 years of experience in the educational field, David has significantly impacted countless students' lives. His background in technology, networking, administration, and network security has allowed him to merge his two passions, education and technology, into a career focused on shaping the future of young minds. Early in his career, David earned a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of the West Indies, where he developed his understanding of human behavior and the cognitive processes that influence learning. Additionally, he earned a master's degree in educational leadership and emerging technologies from City University of Miami, where he further honed his skills in integrating cutting-edge technologies into the educational process. Outside of his academic and professional achievements, David is a committed family man who understands the importance of work-life balance and values the time spent with his family and the support he needs to succeed in his various roles. David's diverse background and interests reflect his deep commitment to continuous learning and service, whether in the classroom, the tech world, or his community. His diverse expertise and deep passion for helping others make him a respected figure both in the classroom and beyond. At this point in time, I introduce David Wood.
Good evening to everyone. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening to my esteemed colleagues at the BUT, to those in the Caribbean, and to everyone who can hear my voice. I do represent the Ministry of Educational Transformation. That's where I currently am. That's my section is the Information Technology and Quality Assurance Unit. So I'm immersed in technology almost every single day. There are lots of things that are happening, lots of things that need to happen, and hopefully I'll give you some ideas and make you feel a little better in terms of what's happening with AI in education. So the theme, Beyond 50, Embracing AI in Education, I found it very, very appropriate, and I was pleased to be asked to come here to speak to you today. We've realized that as a country, we need to move, we need to play catch up, we need to transition where our educational sector is concerned. So today, I'm privileged to be discussing with you AI in education, the Barbadian context, put a little spin on it. Now, a quote from Mark Zuckerberg says, AI can personalize learning pathways in the metaverse, adapting to individual needs and styles. And he said the metaverse has the potential to revolutionize education by creating immersive learning experiences that feel like you're actually there. The New York Times, in one of their articles, quoted, AI will force us humans to double down on those talents and skills that only humans possess. The most important thing about AI may be that it shows us what it can't do, and so reveals who we are and what we have to offer. Now, I know my colleagues before me would have given you some background and history on artificial intelligence, but I'm just going to give you two things that you're aware of. So everyone knows about Siri and Alexa, Siri being the Apple product, Alexa being the Amazon product. Now, during a presentation about its iPhone product in 2011, Apple showcased a new feature, a virtual assistant named Siri. 3 years later, Amazon released their virtual assistant, Alexa. Both had natural language processing capabilities that could understand a spoken question and respond with an answer, but they still contain limitations. Up to now, they still contain limitations. Those two products are basically known as command and control systems. Basically, you ask a question and you get a response. But that response, even though both are programmed to understand a lengthy list of questions, they still cannot answer things that fall outside of their purview. If you've ever interacted with them, you would know that. I can ask Alexa about the weather in Barbados, but there's no way that Alexa can tell me where to find a brown cow in a green pasture, or what is a standpoint, or unless someone has put that information out there for Alexa to be able to pull from. With educational transformation on the way, there has been a cooperative effort in identifying the best fit for AI within our system. The development of proper policies and guidelines for our students is being continually discussed and contextualized to ensure that we have a best fit scenario. Artificial intelligence in education has drawn several concerns from both administrators and students. Administrators like yourselves are often concerned with the following areas. Policy. The ministry is currently, right now, engaged through the Change Management Unit, developing the appropriate policies to help guide and enhance the use of AI in education. We are not just sitting down and saying it's an open system. We're not just sitting down and saying it's something that because it's there, we're going to embrace it and embrace all of it. We've realized that we have to develop the policies which are going to benefit our students in the Barbadian context first, but also in the context of how they're going to interact with the world. Our current minister has always said, yes, we're developing great students. Yes, we're developing brilliant students. But what we want to develop are the creators of where we want to take this country forward. Not just develop the users of technology. We want to be the creators and innovators going forward in how we use technology. And AI is a part of that. Ethics, in terms of how AI is being used, is another major concern from the administrators. Because we can't just have it open, there needs to be some guidelines on how it's being used. Who should use it? When should it be used? It's used in the classroom, it's used at home, and what are the best fit scenarios for AI in education? As much as we would like to think that we are all pure and our students are all pure, we know that there are going to be cases where to get that extra advantage, that the ethics may go through the window, and students may just tamper a little bit to get that advantage for themselves. And we've seen it. It's always been there. Some persons even call it the competitive edge. That happens as well. Things such as AI bias is another area that we're looking at. And this is one where, specifically for us, we have to realize we do not create any AI at the moment right now in the Caribbean. We are still users of it. We're integrating, yes, but we're still users of it. We haven't created any AI platforms in the Caribbean. That's a great idea that we would love to have happen, and that discussion is also happening on a greater context. But AI bias, like any other learning model, is only as good as the information which it has access to. A perfectly honest question in the wrong AI model will achieve disastrous results. Your AI can only respond based on the information that's acceptable to, that it can access. The question we often ask is, and especially for education, we don't know what that information is that these AI platforms are accessing. And there's so many of them. ChatGPT, Open.ai, Reader.ai, I can't go on. Gemini is the new one from Google, and that's an interesting one. But there are lots of them that we have to look at. So that is from the ministry's end. In terms of administrators, we have to look to make sure that there's no real AI bias. Yes, it's going to be there, and we have to make sure that, one, we're not being biased into using something that's been developed for a North American context, which may not necessarily fit for what our students are doing, and which we have to train our teachers to be able to identify when they're looking at assessments, marks, reports, content, things that students turn into them. We have to train our teachers to be able to identify that, or to say, well, train them how to go and, let's say, do a search or do a reverse lookup to make sure that something like this hasn't been done before. And that's where even models like Turnitin, which is now AI-driven as well, that will also you do a reverse lookup to make sure that what your students are presenting to you is valid, authentic. But that is also limited, because unless the information has been turned in before, it can't give you back a response based on what you go to look at. I heard the job there by the General Secretary just now, talking about assessments in education. I'm not going to too much here, but I'll let him know there's ongoing discussion on how the varying AI platforms can enhance the teacher learning experience in the Barbadian context. One of our partners, Nearpod, has used AI in their platform in order to help develop assessments, to the point that teachers can now send assessments to the students. The AI will receive the assessment back from the students, it will correct it, and then give the teacher a report based on marks, comments, and everything in that particular platform. Nearpod has even gone a step further in terms of using gamification, which our students love, to develop formative assessment tools based on the content that has just been done in the classroom. So if there was a lesson on geography and we were looking at mountains, there may be a game developed asking varying questions, different scenarios based on the information presented by the teachers to their students. And the AI will give them it in the game format, give them the answers at the end of it, and tell them how well they did. And the good thing about it is AI has helped us in that aspect as well. Because now, we can take the information from the different platforms that we use, and using AI and APIs, pull that information into our Google Workspace platform, and then at the end of the term, you have your student's portfolio there in front of you. All from different platforms, pulling that information in, and you can see how well your students did. That also goes to remediation as well. We've listened not only to the administrators and to the teachers, we've also had some discussions with our students and some of our sixth form, fifth form students. Students have embraced AI in education. They love it. They love the access that it gives them. They love the power that it gives them. But students themselves have raised concerns about AI in education. The validity of work, that's a big challenge, even at university level. That's where apps like Turnitin come into play. How do we know that the work that this child submits is entirely their own and not something that they've pulled down or asked the AI to help them with? Before, it used to be that the parents would tell you what to do and the child writes it and that's submitted. That's fine. But now, it's even harder and it's more challenging to determine that. AI also helps us play a part in that as well. Concerns from students, especially at the sixth form level, and I like the first presenter for that, in terms of the involvement of AI in solving complex questions. Because it has evolved so much, you can put a complex algebraic equation in AI and you get the answer along with the working, along with the steps. Who says a child doesn't just copy that out, dump it into the Word, and hand it into the teacher, and hey, it's all there, it's all right, correct. So students are quick to use any of the varying search engines and are quick to rely on such tools. However, there needs to be that balance between AI and critical thinking. We have to train and teach our students. You don't just rely on one and not have the other. And the question and answer sometimes is still the best way to understand if a child was critically thinking and developed the answer on their own, or whether they just pulled it down from the internet and submitted it to you. Our partners such as Google, Nearpod, IXL Learning, and Microsoft, just to name a few, have all leveraged their AI platforms for education so that teachers can have the latest tools at their fingertips for the creation of smart lessons, the latest assessment techniques, and of course, proofing tools. Teachers who've tried AI have found that it can help make their jobs easier, from coming up with lesson plans, to generating student project ideas, to creating quizzes. With assistance from artificial intelligence, teachers gain more time to spend with their students. There will be an explosion of teachers training on various educational methods, with an aim right now for about 50% or more competent in technology integration in the Barbadian context. And there's lots of teacher training I can tell you is going to come on stream shortly. To date, even though through my session, we've just completed administrator training on the Google Workspace platform with over 100 administrators and teachers trained and now doing the examination to obtain the Google Certified Educators Level 1 certification. So that is something that's ongoing from the ministry's end as well. The recent renaming of the ministry to the Ministry of Educational Transformation shows the important place by this government on transforming education. As previously mentioned, and I think I heard the quote about it yesterday, reform without infrastructure is like a syllabus without content. Well, I will let you know that the Ministry of Educational Transformation, as part of its agenda, has embarked on a number of transformational initiatives. And I can tell you that all public schools in Barbados are currently undergoing upgrades to their internet services, with half of the schools already upgraded as of today. And the remaining half to have their internet services upgraded by the end of the first week of the next school term. This now means that schools where that complaint was not enough bandwidth for teachers, not enough bandwidth for students, the open emails keeps crashing, I keep spooling, my marks and comments keeps dropping out. Schools can now leverage speeds of up to 1 gig per school. And that has now meant that we can now have increased distribution of internet bandwidth for both teachers and students. Actually, it may even mean that at some point in the future, some AI may come to open emails or whatever other system may be used for student management. You never know. Having AI without the platform, without devices, can't work. And we know that devices in schools have always been a challenge. Especially coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, where our schools would have gone fully online. During that period, the ministry itself would have spent over $9 million in the procurement of devices for both students and teachers, and continues to spend a huge part of its budget on devices for students. We have I would dare say we now have a pilot ongoing that's about to start, where we've spent to outfit at least all of the first form students in our schools with a laptop. And that pilot will also lend to go forward now into making sure that all of our students will have devices to be used, whether that device is a laptop or a tablet or a Chromebook. We are now making sure that we make sure our students have an appropriate device which is going to be used in the educational context. And we haven't left out teachers as well, because we would have spent over $3 million outfitting all of our teachers with devices in the last 3 years, and now we're in the process of refreshing devices for our teachers. So I'll end by saying this. Balancing the advantages of artificial intelligence in education with its potential drawbacks requires careful planning and consideration, as well as ongoing evaluation. AI can empower educators, it can accelerate learning, and it can personalize educational experiences quickly and easily. On the other hand, the risk of bias, misinformation, and student isolation demands scrutiny. Teachers must be willing to explore the potential of AI in order to be effective advocates for their students and for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. David Wood. I think I feel a little better because not only did you speak of open EMIS, you said, or whatever else will come, because I look forward to the day when open EMIS will go. All right? All right, so thank you once again, Mr. Wood. So we go from the land of the flying fish to the land of wood and water. We go now to Jamaica. And our fourth speaker comes in the form of Dr. Rohan Jawala. And to introduce Dr. Jawala, I invite Chairman of Stewards, Sister Jalicia Hines.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Rohan Jawala is a proud son of the Caribbean whose journey from humble beginnings has taken him across the globe as a respected educator, AI researcher, and international speaker with over 30 years of experience in education spanning the Caribbean, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Dr. Jawala remains grounded in the values of community, access, and inclusion. He is passionate about using artificial intelligence to transform education, especially for those who are often left out of the conversation. His work focuses on inclusive and ethical education, and he has delivered more than 100 presentations worldwide. Above all, Dr. Jawala believes in leaving a legacy that uplifts, empowers, and opens doors for the next generation because when one of us rises, we all rise. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Rohan Jawala.
Hello, everyone. If you're hearing me, please indicate. I want to say thanks for the invite. I'm indeed blessed to have this opportunity. And I want to start off by saying that's a country I want to visit, Barbados. At some point, I'm going to get over there. I want to start off with a story that is real, a story that has implications for people using artificial intelligence. And this story is about a young man. He started to use artificial intelligence and he started to use a chatbot. It was called Character AI. He developed a relationship with the character, the AI, and became addicted to the character. Eventually, he was so involved with the character that it was said that they had some sort of bond. His parents tried to help him. They tried to get counseling for him. But of course, that did not help. In the end, as a matter of fact, after conversation with the AI, he took his own life. The issue for me is, as a starting point to make the connection to artificial intelligence and education, is that we have to understand that AI is not human. It mimics human behavior. It gives output because of what you've put in, and it gives you more than what you've asked for. In the sense, it can also lead to position that you get so much that you can't handle it. You can become distressed. But how do we get to the point that we can say, as educators, we are ready? And this is where the readiness comes in. If that individual who took his own life, he was a boy, age 14, now his mom is suing Character AI, had the skills necessary, would he have been in a different position as he engaged in artificial intelligence? And my point to you today, I want to highlight 10 essential points that educators and everyone who professionally uses artificial intelligence must have. First and foremost, I think you're on the right track listening to the presenters, and I want to establish the need for AI prompting. That is a skill that's going to be necessary throughout the Caribbean, especially to get Caribbean sort of content. It's important that we understand what prompting is and just don't expect AI to give us everything, because what you put in, you get, and you get more. The more is always very thought provoking and sometimes discriminatory, and sometimes in some countries can be seen as a reproduction of biases. And in order to understand prompting, we have to now look at AI literacy. I call it critical AI literacy. And every teacher here, educator, should look at the concept of AI literacy from a critical perspective. Because within that framework, you're looking at how AI is produced, how it's developed, how it's deployed, and the data sets. These are important points that we have to consider as we navigate the AI field. Without understanding the basic tenets of AI literacy, then we have a problem. Because if you don't understand and you don't engage in AI literacy activities and critical thinking, we are in a problem. And I just want to do a little branch off to critical thinking because now we have to ensure that students are going to be using AI for process learning. Process learning means that they're documenting what they are doing to outline their outcomes and their achievement as it relates to objectives. So for an assignment, it will look different. For example, assignment might give a prompt, but require student to adjust each or address each of these prompts until the final response is given. That is how we have to develop critical thinking in students so they can reflect, think about their own thinking, and think about the tools they're using to develop that too. Then there's the issue of data literacy. We have so much data in the Caribbean, but yet we do not harvest it in the way that we could. Just imagine being able to use AI to say, all right, you know what, that is a learning gap for the Caribbean people or students, especially in mathematics, when we look at sometimes the grades, and how are we going to harness that with using AI to ensure that we have the best learning proposal for students. In addition to that, I heard everyone talking about using ChatGPT to do lesson plans and so forth. That is exceptionally good because that's another aspect of developing a skill. And the skill that I want to talk about is learning how to automate your workflows. For example, I personally have created over 100 ChatGPTs that I have on my system. It means I can create a lesson plan, I can do a road trip to Jamaica, I can plan a trip to Paris, I can do so many, I can find the best reggae songs for that era. I can listen to so many things if I just put my things together. 100 GPTs I've created. In addition to that, my daughter and I, we have created over 40 applications that can be deployed in classrooms. So the creativity and automation of workflow is going to be an essential skill that we have to consider. And as I move on to the fifth one, it's learning how to enhance problem solving through AI. You are doing a research regarding your students. You want to find out learning gaps. You can use that to solve our problems. In addition to that, one thing we have to learn what AI can do and what it cannot do. And I think some of the speakers mentioned that. So we have to understand another skill and learn that skill of collaborating with AI. So we know what AI can do and what we need to do as human beings and so forth. So for example, a lot of people might use AI for signing, for marking assignments, but human interaction is necessary. We also need to know about the language of how computer operates. It's not in depth. Just understand how computer language works. And just that might be just understanding a paragraph or two. And of course, essential to this movement is going to be AI ethics. Because when we look at ethics, ethics talks about the accessibility to AI content. It talks about the safety. It talks about privacy issues. It talks about safeguarding humanity. It talks about ensuring that AI is designed for human benefit. Unlike the guy at OpenAI created a weapon that uses ChatGPT prompts to fire. That's problematic. And then we have to look at creative use of AI, how AI is going to help us to generate content to ensure that there is a democratization of education in the Caribbean that represents the Caribbean, that represents our history, that is not being pushed from an AI system from United States. So therefore, we have to have language models that reflect our collaborative work or work that we'll do. And finally, the final point I like to make is that we need a system that requires us to be able to have selection of tools that are relevant to our organization. With over 300 tools and more growing as it relates to artificial intelligence, connected to education, we need to select those tools that will allow us to have cost reduced, allow us to have students' data secure, allow us to have knowledge base being transferred from one aspect to the next, and of course allows us to have a meaningful engagement with students. And it is possible that one app won't allow that. I did a research with the Caribbean teachers the other day. I had a workshop, over 200 individuals attended. And from that workshop, only 8% of the 200 teachers had a tool that they paid for. It's concerning. And that is concerning because if you are to innovate, you cannot innovate without finance or without money, without funding. Innovation is not just done by online items that are free, but to get the best, sometimes you have to pay. So my final thoughts as the Caribbean moves forward in advocating for AI, let us remember that AI is for all and not some. And as we think about AI, we have to think about the ethical concerns, because within that ethical concern, we have to acknowledge that with great power of using these tools will come great responsibility. And that means advocating for ethics in your classroom space. Your role of teachers, in my last 40 seconds, I'll say, the role of teachers and educators will change. You will be relevant if you're able to use these tools. You'll have your jobs, but your jobs can be replaced with those who are using artificial intelligence. I will give you 30 seconds back, and thanks for having me.
So we are assured that we're going to have our jobs, provided that we do not stay as dinosaurs. Because he did say that your job will be kept if you are using AI. If not, your job will be given to someone who is using AI. That's food for thought. So we're going to stay in the land of wood and water for our final speaker this afternoon. And I hope that you'll be making your copious notes, because there's a lot to be gleaned from this afternoon's presentations. And if you have any questions, we're going to field the questions at the end of the presentations. Our final speaker for our 4th edition of Caribbean Teachers Talk, not sure if she's the rose amongst the thorns, but we have this afternoon Dr. Nicole Manning. And to read her biography, I'm going to invite Sister Dr. Alicia Allen.
Good evening to each and every one of you. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Nicole Manning. Dr. Nicole Manning is an educator and industry professional with over 25 years of regional and international experience in education. Dr. Manning possesses a Doctor of Education from the Nova Southeastern University in Florida and a Master of Science in Computer-Based Management Information Systems from the University of the West Indies. Dr. Manning also holds executive qualifications from Harvard and Manchester universities. This has equipped her to provide executive leadership to the Examination Services Division at the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC. She has served on regional education and quality assurance boards, as well as worked on several education projects across the regions with different organizations, including UNESCO, OAS, and the World Bank. Dr. Manning brings a wealth of knowledge in assessment, accreditation, workforce development, governance, risk management, and public-private partnerships, key components in the educational transformation required for the region. Her combined experience, knowledge, and dedication has provided her a platform to drive the digital transformation thrust of CXC as she concomitantly realizes her passion for assisting young people in recognizing their true potential. At this time, I invite Dr. Nicole Manning to address us.
Thank you very much, Masters of Ceremony. I think I had, 4 other speakers before me. I'll try and be as very brief as possible. All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed my privilege to have this opportunity to speak with the Barbados Union of Teachers on this very provoking topic. Artificial intelligence, as it has been said many times, has been around for a long time. And I sat there, and before the first speaker, I remembered the fact that about 10 years ago, I attended a conference and did a presentation on the 5th Industrial Revolution. And only to know that 10 years after, we're sitting in it with so many different opportunities, concerns out there. But I do believe, just as how we had in 2000, for those well, I'm sure everyone in the room would have been around that time. I don't know if you remember that time, the night when we were going to convert from 1999 to 2000, and so many persons were wondering what would have happened. We are internet and everything for 2000 and 2000s have become commonplace, and so will artificial intelligence. But we are at that point where we want to ensure that we understand how to make use, the best use of what is presented before us. And I want to share the fact that this is just, I see it as an opportunity, many opportunities. We are in an age too where our students, our children, or whatever the group would be, are all digital natives. But sometimes we do not necessarily give them as much credit as we need to, but I would say that they are maybe a little bit more ready than we believe they are. I'm happy to hear about the fact that we are making sure that the infrastructure and all of that is in place. But there's a word I want to use, and I'm going 2 words in particular. 1 in terms of equity, and 2 in terms of partnership. If it is that we are at all going to benefit or make the change that is required, that action that the next generation demands of us, so that all of what we spoke about earlier actually happens, we have to ensure equity and partnership. So we have created over about, well, probably maybe about 10 years ago too, the whole process of, I'll say 2015. CXC created what we have as the electronic assessment. But of course, you cannot capitalize on something unless you have the facilities in place. Equity. Equity from the perspective of your teachers, equity from the perspective of parents and guardians, equity from the perspective of students. And so I'm here to encourage you and to say that I do believe that we are at a place. I know we speak about Finland and we speak about all of these other places, but it has been known that many times the very creativity or innovations that happen within our own space, they are not necessarily moving ahead because we may not have partnered with somebody, or we may not have provided the sufficient opportunities to create that equitable space for persons to move on. I say that to say that we have created what we now coin as our CXC standards and guidelines. And those guidelines are there to help you to ensure that equitable space. We do not and did not expect that the Caribbean would have been able to move fast enough because there are many things happening at the same time. So we went ahead and did the policy framework, which I know Dr. Wesley would have spoken about. But to hit the ground running, you also needed the standards and the guidelines. Those guidelines that give you actionable points, things that you can realistically implement to make teaching and learning a far more easier experience. So we know that assessment, you have formative and we have summative assessment. So once we are going through the process, if it is that you do not apply it in teaching and you do not apply it in learning, then by the time you reach to assessment, what we would say that we would have missed that opportunity. So we are saying we want to partner, and in so doing, we are providing this documentation, this information, after much research to ensure that you are not starting from scratch. It is to ensure that you can use it to create that equitable environment for students. And so, if we speak about ethics, which is a very important part of the process, it has 5 standards. The first one has to do with ethical use of AI and academic integrity. The second standard has to do with data privacy and security. The third, designing assessments. Fourth, it has to do with evaluating assessment processes, one of our speakers spoke about just now, and the products. And the fifth one has to do with maintaining measurement principles in assessment development. And I could not stand here as the Director of Operations for the Caribbean Examinations Council, in charge of everything examinations, and not speak about the component that's dealing with measurement principles. It is critical that as we share these standards, that briefly we look at the fact that we are not expecting you to do everything all at once, but the time is not our friend. I'm really hoping that we realize that when COVID hit in 2020, it was said by one of our development partners that we were 50%, well, less than 50% ready for COVID. We are past that, and I believe that we would have put some systems in place, and I'm encouraging that we use those systems, but to engage others in ensuring that the ethical use of AI and academic integrity are not just words. One of the speakers spoke about plagiarism. I'm not speaking about plagiarism alone. What we're saying is we have adopted the AI assessment scale that existed before Perkins et al. 2014. We're not recreating anything. What we're saying, though, is that we're not adopting it. We are adapting it. It has 5 levels, and we are taking 4 at this point. The 4th level, the first level, speaks of the candidate not using any AI at all. And we know that's not necessarily realistic, but it is an experience that they will have in a controlled environment as you do your own internal summative assessments, and we have that final assessment. But the reality is that there are other opportunities, AI-assisted assessments. And so you have where content can be allowed. I'm sure when you look at you can ask the person sitting beside you, have you ever seen those lines when you write and you see those lines appearing in your documentation? Good, that's AI. It's correcting it automatically for the student. Just as though it corrects it for you, it's correcting it for the students. And the reality is that when the student goes out there, that's what's going to happen to them when they're in their world of work, or further education. It is what exists. So we are saying that level 2 deals with AI-assisted learning from its natural perspective. The third level we have is in terms of AI assistance, in terms of editing and presentation enhancement. This is where the candidate or student would have been allowed to create videos and so on. And so we are encouraging teachers to think about the higher order skills, how we are going to assess candidates and ensure that we use different types of assessment. At the Caribbean Examinations Council, this is something that we encourage: performance-based assessment, project-based assessment, where you're saying that it's not just about the candidate getting a topic, going home, because, you know, many times we talk about AI, but I tell you something, folks, we know the reality is that we always had experts. I did my master's in computer-based management information system, and one of the things we learned very early is a thing called expert systems. Everybody in this room would represent an expert system. If I took your brain or spoke with you for a long time, I could do a program that would do many of the things that you do. And that's what AI is doing. All it is doing is taking expert information as well as information that is fed to it on a daily basis, because as you use this phone, the information is going directly into AI. You're contributing to it. Once you contribute to it, it builds. And so even though it has the bias, they have the biases and all of that, what I'm trying to say is it's not a matter of excluding the use of it. It is the ethical use of it in the perspective of making sure candidates, students know how to give credit where credit is due. That is not only an academic activity, that is a human activity that when I stand before people, if it is that Mr. Carmichael, right, General Secretary, had done something, and I'm coming to the podium to reference what he's doing, I give him credit for what he has done. I'm not going to come up here and then speak as if I did it. Then I walk away and but maybe he's not a talker. Well, that's not true, but but say, of course, he was one of those persons who's going to say anything. It would not have been fair to him to stand. That's an ethical use of what would have been done by Mr. Carmichael. That's just one example. So we need to encourage our students, encourage each other, because I'm telling you something, sometimes we do not speak necessarily a lot about some of the things that happen. But, my dear, you will be so surprised as to what we receive that teachers mark and give a score for, where there is absolutely no information provided to us. That is not ethical use, not only of AI, but technical information. So I'm bringing it home in a real way. And I'm saying anybody could have used parents. I heard somebody mention it earlier. Parents, they could have used a technical expert from somewhere. They would have been helping them all this time. But now, you may not have to pay somebody to help you because you now have the AI that you can easily access. So I'm saying this particular standard and guideline provides the originality information that you're speaking about. We talk about Turnitin, but there are many others, and we have listed them all, those that currently exist. But we know that tomorrow morning there are going to be about 10 more, and so on. So we are saying use this as your benchmark. The second point I want to make is the data privacy. A lot of times, persons just use information, share information. We, in the standards, we are encouraging students, and we're encouraging teachers to encourage students, parents, and guardians that personally identifiable information should not be put into any AI platform as best as possible. Because once it goes there, you know that it's no longer your information. No, it's just there for use by anyone, right? So when you get into your computer and you put your name in, and it says to you they want to use the last information you had there, and you select yes, and it takes it, it has collected that information. So I'm just saying, it's in a real way why many territories, many other countries would have created data protection laws the laws that we would have, in some cases, would have adopted or adapted, as the case may be. I move quickly to say the candidates have to be careful. Students have to be careful, not only from security, but how they use certain platforms. The EU has their own AI Act already. Folks, they have already said in their act that some platforms that are being used, like DeepSeek, is not going to be accepted by them. Now, what does that mean for us? Let's just think very carefully, because we had put it first in the standard, but we decided to make it broader, to say that you have to maintain and ensure that you observe legal and regulatory requirements. Our students go all over the world. And so as a body, we spend time tirelessly working with credentialing bodies, working with higher education institutions, accreditation bodies, to ensure that the certification is accepted. So it therefore means to protect us, to protect students' future, and to protect what we have to ensure that each person that's using AI observe also that kind of, those kinds of issues, legal issues. Because imagine yourself having done the work and it's not accepted because you did not use the requisite framework, the requisite solution that is acceptable outside of our region. The students go out there, and what happens? It's not accepted. They thought it is something that we are not accepting it, and they thought, oh, you are just so hard and wicked on us. And so for whatever reason, they may have gotten probably 8 out of the 10 that they did. They go to a university abroad. What happens? The university in Europe says, we don't take this. And they see it as an ethical issue, and you find yourself through the door. We cannot afford that. We have to ensure that as we train our children from primary, secondary, and post-secondary, all the way up, that they observe these practices. It will protect us, it will protect them. I want to encourage very seriously the use of these other facilities in terms of our even item writing and so on. And we have created a system. I heard the ministry speaking of one. I'm very happy to hear that. And a system that all teachers can utilize. We're seeking persons who are interested in terms of even a pilot, and where in the region you can collaborate. That word partnership, very important. Collaborate by sharing information, sharing items that would have been created. I know we do specimen papers, and we are thinking of other creative ways of sharing more. But the point is, if this table was one country, each table represented a country, and each table had several schools, and those schools created items. Just imagine a world where everything is shared, what that would mean for the region. It would therefore mean that we're not sitting in our own space, not only using AI, but we would have a regional flavor really called CARICOM, because we would have access, instead of having access to 1,000 items from one location, you would have items from 9 tables in here, 9,000. So just imagine what that kind of activity looks like. So we are encouraging that as you design your assessments. I want to quickly move to the teacher training and professional development that we'll be doing a deliberate activity. One, our own policy framework says that we need to do capacity building along with you. 2, pedagogical approaches. And 3, bias mitigation. How do we get this done? We're saying it cannot be done all at once, but we can work with you to do it. We have a conference coming up, and at this conference we're looking at how do we look at transformative pedagogies. There are three things we want to look at: driving and fostering a growth mindset for student success. And behind the scene, what does that look like to make the changes, some of the changes that Dr. Hunt, I think, Andrew would have mentioned earlier? How can we see those changes and how can we realistically make those shifts? And next one is addressing exceptionalities. When we speak about exceptionalities, we tend to look at one component of the continuum. We have students who are exceptional at the high end of the continuum and students who struggle at the other end of the continuum. We are looking at all end to end. And what we're saying to you, we want to share that kind of information and help you to understand what are those good and emerging practices. Last but not least, if it is that we are going to treat with the heart of the matter, you would have heard, it's us, human beings, integrating AI in education. It means that we have to understand we are learners just as much as the students are learners. In my previous life, we used to call them learners, not because of the strong thrust in lifelong learning. It cannot happen from one table, which is representing a country. We cannot do it with one school, and we cannot do it by one ministry, with one ministry. I represent the Caribbean Examinations Council, and as a region, we can do it. We just need to be focused on that, creating that equity that I spoke about earlier, as well as work in partnership. I want to conclude by saying two things. One, we do have our Professional Learning Institute where we'll be offering programs. Yes. We do have the various, I spoke about the conference. We do have statistics that we're going to be deep diving in to share with you. But I want to say that if it is that we do all of this and it's not utilized, then we would not have what is called value. We can speak from now till next year. AI has been around from 1956, long before I was born. But the point is that if it is that we do not adopt, adapt, implement, or action any of what we have said, we would not have created value. I challenge you that from everything that has been said, if you implement at least one thing, it means that our president, I'm not sure how long the tenure is, but I would say, Mr. Lavelle, how long? Oh, a year. I would say that we hold persons to books. Let us use it as an assessment point the next time you meet, whenever that is. Whenever you use that assessment point, and to see what have we implemented, because the fifth industrial revolution is here. We can do absolutely nothing about it, but we can use the opportunity of capitalizing to ensure that we create that value. I want to encourage equity. I want to encourage partnership to create that particular value. Go online. The documentation is already there. It's final. It's done. It's there for you to utilize. Many examples at the back, how you cite, what you can use. It's practical, and you can use it right now. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manning. At this time, we're going to open the floor to questions. We're going to open to questions from the floor. We're going to field a few in the interest of time. Yes, sir?
My daughter, right, is an engineer. She worked with Accenture. Right, in one of the largest engineering firms in the world. Because of the stress, she's just gone to a firm called Kenview, another engineering firm. Right at this moment, she's attending a conference. At this conference, there are 100 people, 10 are white women, 3 are black, all right? And she just texted me to say that she discovered that China is the #1 manufacturer of ships and robots. And that China, in 1 year, has made, this is what she's discovering at this conference, has made more ships than America has ever done, right? Now, we're talking about the ethical implications or whatnot. But meanwhile, in China, which I visited twice, I mean, they are so far ahead of the game that the question becomes now, how do we, as a small island economy, compete with what is really abreast, what we're really facing? I mean, this is frightening. The US right now, in terms of what we're saying now, they're crapping their pants, right? Maybe Trump is literally crapping his. But the US, is, as a general, is crapping their pants because of what China is doing. That's why there's all of this upheaval there. Why there's all of this shifting and moving and that we're seeing happening right now under this administration. They're aware of what? How do we then, as an island, a small island economy, compete with this? How do we plan to compete with it? Would be my question.
Right, and to whom is your question directed? All right, so any person on the panel, present or online?
So your question really is, as a small island economy, how are we handling these global, what persons are deeming trade wars and what's happening between China and the US? In our case, we don't only look to even the US, even in terms of how we, let's say, procure items, or how we are going to look at transforming. You, the first persons mentioned looking at countries like Finland and Singapore. Barbados has a number of alliances. I know one that our minister is currently exploring is through the UAE. So even in terms of the ongoing trade war between those two big manufacturers, well, China as the manufacturer, US as the biggest importer and shipper, we are actually looking at doing more business, I know the Prime Minister said, with the African continent, and even through the ministry itself, we are looking at going to the UAE in terms of getting devices in, exploring relationships, looking at training, and then also using our regional partners within CARICOM itself to build that one united force. And this is something we're trying to do, trying to build allegiances in CARICOM, that when the Caribbean speaks, we speak as one entity, so that we have a greater voice on the world market. So I'm not sure how well that answers your question.
Just a quick follow-up. You didn't respond to both of them, but this is a more granular question now. We know that students really, or young people, do not really develop their brains fully. The last thing that develops is the frontal lobe of the brain. It's the last thing to develop, right? And that's really where the executive functioning takes place. How do you really prepare now kids now who are young and who really the synapses and whatnot there, the brain have not developed to that point, where it can handle some of these challenges that AI will present. These moral dilemmas, these ethical things. Because remember, you've read about Piaget, you've heard about Goldberg in terms of moral development. How do you expect young kids now, right, to face with a development? Plagiarism is just one of it, one of the issues. But how do you expect these young people now? How do we help them now to really cope in the kind of world that they're facing now? This is like the the Invisible Man, right? This scientist, remember, the protagonist in Wells' book, who discovered the power of invisibility. And suddenly what happened, you can steal at will, you can rape at will, you can kill at will, and at the end of the day, this is what AI now presents us as a society, really. That's the power of it now. how do you expect even young people to face that thing?
I'll answer your question by looking at it from the other side of it, because our students now are the digital natives. They are growing up with that AI there. They're growing up with access to it. It's built into their devices. It's in everything that they do. They are the digital natives. We are the nomads. We are the ones now who, any person now over the age of, I dare say, over 20, 25, because now we have to adjust to what they are accustomed to. So dealing with that in terms of developmental issues, and they develop up to, I think by age 25 it is, when they're fully developed, we now have to, as Dr. Mara has said, we have to now look at things like the ethics of it, making sure that they understand how it's to be used, the best way to use it, and how to embrace it and use it. It's already there for them. It is in everything that they do, from the creation of music to the creation of art. It's there for math, it's languages, everything. When you're looking at things like Babel and the learning of languages and language models, it's already there for them. They're the ones who are using this and who are exposed to it. We know as the educators and administrators have to make sure that we teach them the correct way, the ethical way of using it, and allow them to harness what they are accustomed to make sure that they use it the right way. So it's not so much for us to really try to, I wouldn't even just say control, but to really just more so guide and to show established practices and to show us, even with experience, the fact that we may know a little better in terms of how to use it. Remember, at the end of the day, it's just a tool. It's just a tool. It will take information and it will expel information. But we have to make sure that our students know the correct way and are using it in the correct way.
If I may just add a little bit to that, there are 2 points that you have, very good points you have made. One in relation to when we were growing, I'm not sure if you remember the fact that we were held accountable, right? The question is, I'm not saying you're supposed to use the same methods, but accountability is still important. So it allows you to think differently. It allows you to think creatively. And so if it is that you are, instead of, when sometimes these children will ask for information, they'll ask for information, and sometimes it's just given, they just go on, they Google, nothing is wrong with that. But then, have we allowed them to explore and to solve other problems on their own? And so we have to think about that. I've seen a lot of parents, they go here with them, they give them that, everything just coming at them. There's no impetus to want to work for anything. There's no impetus for wanting to go actually trying to learn and research. Nothing is wrong with using the AI. Nothing is wrong with using Google, even for in their own space. So a lot of times, your children will even, I'm using very simple examples. They'll say to you, I need a shirt. Why can't they go and search for what they want and what looks best on them? But no, we go and do the research, and we go and buy it. No, and those are the things we need to, if you ask sometimes our very own children how much they know about themselves, we know more about them than they know about themselves. But when I was going to school, I used to do housework, I had to study, and I still had to do everything else that I did at church and everything. I was a whole human being. And so it's our responsibility to get those critical thinking skills. It's not going to come out of a classroom alone. It has to be classroom, home. It's a multiplicity of things that's happening. And I think we need to allow that to happen. That's the first point. Last point is in relation to the skills that they need to get in terms of being globally competitive, those other skills. So you have the employability skills, you have the occupational skills. And I'm saying that there are many subject areas that we have. Those that the Chinas are using, you're talking about animation, digital media, green engineering. Somebody's asking me for biotech, and we do not have teachers for them. How do you then have syllabuses out there? So green engineering is something that's very important to us as a Caribbean. How is it that they are going to be engaged in that so that you can utilize it in the economy, not only for growth, but protection for even the environment we live in. If it is that we do not have that system to facilitate, similar to what you're speaking about with the China, or we are not promoting, we have moved away from the regular doctor, lawyer, Indian chief long ago. We need to ensure that we encourage our students to look at other occupations, get involved in them. That is what is going to make the difference, because that is what is going to be the competition. Animation, I can tell you, one of those animators, the money that they make, you wrap up in everybody inside here, and you still cannot make it. But how many students, we must ask ourselves, that do that? Even here. Because, I mean, I am the Caribbean, so I know everybody. But I'm saying there is far more that can be done to make them competitive. So I'm just encouraging us that we explore those areas, connect with the universities to ensure that we have teachers coming out of the universities ready and equipped to teach and empower those students who want to take on these new areas. Design technology is one of our new areas, and I must commend Barbados. Barbados was the first one who took it up. In fact, you had it for about 2 years alone. So that is commendable, but we need more. That's all I'm saying. So that will help us with the competitiveness. And then your labor market information will help drive us for other things that you may need. But we should not have anything that is futuristic, that is current, and that the world needs for global competitiveness that is not being utilized.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manning. And I'll take the final question, just to follow up from your response just now. I would want to know from both Dr. Manning and Brother Wood, given what was said, Dr. Manning spoke of persons leaving university coming in, but you do know that we do have some dinosaurs, to use the terminology from earlier, currently in the system. What plans are there in place, and will there be a real thrust to ensure that training is provided to persons already in the system as teachers and students to maximize the benefits of AI integration?
So I'll go first from the Caribbean perspective. I spoke about the conference. Please, that's a very real thing. The Professional Learning Institute, we have broadened that. That's an institute that is of the Caribbean Examinations Council. And many times we promote and send out programs and new training interventions, and we're really not getting the volume of persons. But we are going to be going after the AI, and it is a deliberate intervention that we are going to be creating. And we look to see how many persons, not only in this room, but generally are going to take it up, right? That's number 2. The third one, as we are saying, is the actual utilization of the tools that are embedded even in the guidelines we shared. You literally have to do nothing. There are CXC, there are statements for candidates. There are how you cite. We have done that already. In other words, we're not saying as teachers you need to go and research it. We're saying use it. We're saying then develop from there what other things are going to happen. Because remember, today is the 15th of April. Tomorrow, the 16th, do not be surprised that something new comes out. That's how things are, the speed at which things are changing, right? So that's number 3. Number 4, and last, I will say that collaboration I mentioned earlier. We have teachers, we say we want to share more information. But if I share information with everybody in this room, I'm saying when you go like an evangelist, you have to share it with others also. What does that look like, right? I said that was my last point, but I'm going to hand over to my ministry colleague. And I have to, we work very well together, right? And one of the last session we had, with the CEO, I remember one of the things I spoke about is the fact that and that's why I'm so passionate about this equity. We can do everything in our powers. I can train everybody inside here, but you have to have the tools to use it.
Correct. Thank you, Dr. Manning. So from the ministry's end now, we are embarking, starting from, I know, as early as summer this year, the retraining for all of our teachers. Change Management Unit has done the consultancy on it. There have been consultations on it. We're developing the programs. I know that for sure. And then in terms of the training, so there's going to be varying training based on where we are looking to go in transformation. Project-based learning is one. That's going to have some component of AI to it as well. My section, we're going to be looking at the technical training for teachers. So using AI in things like Google Workspace, AI in Nearpod. AI is going to come on AXL learning as well. That is going to be for specialists at remedial schools, as well as the overall retraining of teachers. That is going to happen. Currently, I know there are discussions ongoing with Earlston Teachers Training College to make sure that the tutors there themselves, they're going to be retrained as well to make sure that we are producing teachers who are going to be trained and who are coming out of Earlston who are fit for purpose in terms of going into the classroom and then utilizing the tools that are going to be made available for them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wood and Dr. Manning. All right, so at this time, I'm going to invite Dr. Manning to come forward. I'm also going to invite Sister Donna King to come forward. Here at the BUT, we do not believe in allowing persons who have done service for us to leave empty-handed. So,
yes, please. Good evening, everyone. Dr. Manning, on behalf of the executive of the Barbados Union of Teachers, I want to present this small token of appreciation to you for joining us today under our theme, Beyond 50, Embracing AI in Education. Thank you so much. Good. All right. Take it up. And you're going to give me
Mr. Wood?
Yes, sir. Good evening to you. On behalf of the executive of the Barbados Union of Teachers, I too want to thank you for being here with us today and to present you with this small token of appreciation for joining us today on our journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Donna King. And to those persons in the online environment that presented this afternoon, they too will receive. We're going to now invite Echoes of Ashton Hall Band from the Coleridge Parish School to end this evening with some entertainment. And following will be the vote of thanks that will be moved by Sister Stacia Springer.
Wow. How do I come after that? That deserves a next round of applause. It does indeed, it does indeed. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stacia Springer, an executive member of the Barbados Union of Teachers, and it is truly a privilege to deliver the vote of thanks this afternoon. On behalf of the Barbados Union of Teachers, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all who played a part in making the 4th edition of Caribbean Teachers Talk under the theme, Embracing AI in Education. Such a meaningful, rewarding, and insightful event. Your contributions have made today a remarkable success, and we are deeply appreciative. First and foremost, I extend my sincerest thanks to our esteemed panelists. Dr. Andrew Hunt, your presentation prompted deep reflection on my future self. It reinforced the understanding that I possess the intelligence to shape my own narrative. Rather than replacing me, AI will depend on and be enhanced by my uniquely human insight and intellect. And for that, I thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rohan Jawala, for the timely reminder to remain vigilant about the evolving job landscape. We cannot afford to be caught off guard as AI continues to reshape the world of work. It is essential that we stay proactive, creating content that is not only innovative, but also deeply relevant to our Caribbean context. Dr. Nicole Manning, we thank you for your insightful reminder on the ethical use of technology. As we embrace the advancements that AI brings, we must remain mindful of the ethical implications and ensure that our use of these tools aligns with our values, responsibilities, and the best interests of our students. Mr. Jervis Debrio, your insights reminded us that AI is a powerful tool meant to be harnessed. Just as automatic vehicles were once met with skepticism, yet are now widely embraced, we too must evolve. Let us not remain like donkeys pulling a burdensome cart. Instead, let us wisely embrace and leverage the transformative potential of AI. We thank you once again. Thank you, Brother David Wood. As educators, it is essential that we inspire our students not just to be users of technology, but to become its creators. We eagerly anticipate hearing more from the Ministry of Education Transformation on the upcoming transformations and how AI can play a pivotal role in enhancing teaching and learning here in Barbados. We as teachers are also looking forward to the training and development opportunities that lie ahead. Again, panelists, your expertise in the rapidly evolving field of artificial intelligence has been truly enlightening. The knowledge, perspectives, and real-world applications you all shared has sparked new ideas and ways of thinking about how we as educators can incorporate AI into our classrooms and empower our students for the future. We are incredibly fortunate to have had the opportunity to learn from such a distinguished group of professionals. I thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you once again. Brother Rudy Lovell, President of the Barbados Union of Teachers, as always, your warm and thoughtful welcome set the tone for today's event. Your words laid a strong foundation for what proved to be an engaging and impactful session, and for that, we thank you. A special thank you also goes out to our moderator, Brother Gilbert Carmichael. You have guided today's discussion with exceptional skill, keeping us engaged, focused, and on track. Your ability to ask thought-provoking questions and ensure a balanced and inclusive conversation has been key to the success of this session. And for this, we thank you. Sister Dr. Alicia Allen, gracious thank you for invoking God's blessings on this afternoon's proceedings. Sister Marsha Burt, Sister Tonya Joseph, Brother Nathaniel Boyce, Sister Julicia Hines, and Sister Dr. Alicia Allen,
Your articulate and poised introductions of the distinguished speakers for this panel discussion were exemplary and deeply appreciated. To you, our wonderful audience, thank you for your active participation. Your questions, feedback, and engagement have added a valuable dimension to the discussion. It is clear that many of you are passionate about the intersection of technology and education, and your contributions have made this event even more meaningful. To the esteemed entertainers of this session, the echoes of Ashton Hall Band, saxophonist Mr. Kofi Childs, and steel panist Mr. Kevin St. Hill, your melodious performances were truly captivating and left a lasting impression. For this, we thank you. Sister Donna King, thank you for presenting the tokens of appreciation to those panelists that are physically here with us today. A heartfelt thank you also goes out to the Media Resource Department from the Ministry of Education Transformation for their flawless technical support during today's panel discussion. The high-quality audiovisual setup, smooth live streaming, and attentive troubleshooting contributed greatly to the engaging and dynamic discussion. We are truly grateful for your dedication and the vital role you played in bringing this event to life. Your team's hard work made all the difference. And last, but by certainly not least, a huge thank you to the organizing committee. Your hard work, dedication, and attention to detail have made this event possible. Keep up the good work. From coordinating logistics to creating the content, you have ensured that everything ran smoothly, and we are deeply appreciative of your efforts in bringing this important conversation to life. As we wrap up today's session, I encourage all of us to reflect on the insights shared and think about how we can embrace and incorporate artificial intelligence into our teaching practices. The future of education is exciting, and the possibilities are endless with the right tools and mindset. Thank you once again to everyone for your contributions. I wish you all the best as you continue to explore, learn, and shape the future of education. Thank you.